Sam, I have an interesting question to pose to you, and this is more recent news, and this is the best time for Lions just talk in general for potential, after the draft. It's all about the season. It's all about what they can do to get better, and I have a player that I think could make the Lions a lot better, and if you guys haven't been keeping up with just around the NFL and news in general, Dexter Lawrence just got paid. He got paid in New York. Jeffrey Simmons got paid in Tennessee, 2 defensive tackles, and they got big deals. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons secured a 4-year, $94 million contract, so he got paid. You know who didn't get paid, who's better than all of those guys?
Who's that?
Quinnen Williams.
Oh, boy.
Who plays for the Jets, came out of Alabama, and has been a game wrecker for the New York Jets. And again, a really good Jets defense. Like, we talk about Sauce, we talk about DJ Reed, but what about up front with Quinnen Williams and what he does to provide pressure on the interior? He's going to be a big fish available, and they can't secure an extension right now. According to ESPN, the two sides, quote, aren't close to an agreement as the talented defensive lineman has decided to skip voluntary offseason workouts. This is on sportsillustrated.com/Lions News, and they wrote an article on it. And he was the number 3 overall pick in the 2019 draft. We know that. And again, he was a Pro Bowler in 2022. He had 12 sacks last year. I mean, let's be honest here. He's an animal. He's a beast. And the Lions didn't address that position. They still have Bugs. They still have Benito Jones. They still have Aleem McNeil. But, Sam, they don't have game wreckers. They don't. I think Broderick Martin has a lot of upside as a run stopper. But this isn't just a run stopper, Sam. This is somebody who can wreck a game from the interior. Number one, he's 25 years old. He's got one more year left on his deal. And in 2024, he will be a free agent. So if they can't secure a deal, Sam, number one, should the Lions pursue Quinnen Williams? Because unless you wait till 2024, you got to give up assets for him, and then you got to extend him. Would you be? Because again, just add this in before you go. They could afford it if they have a quarterback on a rookie deal. But what say you, Sam Flannel? What do you think? Quinnen Williams, should the Lions pursue him, and should they extend him?
I'll tell you what. You should at least inquire about Quinnen Williams at this point, because if there's one criticism, and I think it's very, very fair, at least to this point, about the Lions draft, is that they didn't address the defensive line really at all until Broderick Martin. And Broderick Martin, I understand he has some upside, but I mean, it's just Broderick Martin, to be fair to him. The Lions passed on Jalen Carter. They didn't address it as much as they should. It was one of their weak points last season, or as much as I think they should. It was one of their weak points last season. And Quinnen Williams, you said Dexter Lawrence and Jeffrey Simmons got paid. Quinnen Williams is better than all of them.
Yeah.
Which also means that he will probably ask
command
more money. But if you're going to pay for someone, you pay for quality, because you have Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston on the outside. If you put Quinnen Williams on this defense and he gives you what he did last year, I'm talking about the Detroit Lions as a for sure, no doubt, top 10 to 15 defense, which in turn I think would make them, oh my goodness, I mean, 12 wins, 13 wins, something like that. Mm-hmm. Quinnen Williams is one of the best defensive players in the NFL. For a lot of the season, you could have thought that he would have been Defensive Player of the Year, or at least in the running.
Yeah.
Just imagine Quinnen Williams on this defense. I know you'd have to pay a lot, but would you pay for quality? Mm-hmm. That's the thing. And Quinnen Williams would give you, on paper, one of the better defenses in the NFC after just a couple of years ago it being one of the weakest defenses in terms of personnel that I've ever seen.
And this is what's crazy, too, because, again, with Brad, you can make the argument, well, Brad drafts extremely well. Yeah, no, he does. There's no question about it. But there comes a point with every organization where you can't just always depend on the draft. Like, there's proven commodities in the NFL that are available sometimes, and you got to go make a move. You could bring up the 49ers going out and getting Christian McCaffrey. They had a ton of talent, and Christian had a contract along with them, but they said, you know what, we'll take Christian McCaffrey. They signed Hargraves. They gave him a big deal. Like, when teams have flexibility with the cap, you just want talent, and Quinnen Williams is talent. Like, although you can make the argument, well, I'd rather Brad draft and fill out this roster with talent on rookie deals. That's fair, but why draft somebody that you hope to be Quinnen Williams, Sam, when Quinnen Williams is right there, and he's Quinnen Williams. He's one of the best defensive tackles in the entire NFL. Now, the big thing you'd have to think about, and I think this is what Brad's going to have to think about, is what's your cap on paying someone like Quinnen Williams? Because according to Spotrac, his projected salary per year is about $26.5 million. So that's projected what he thinks. The market value, just to give you a summary, it's a 4-year, $106 million deal. So you're going to pay him hefty, and you'd be paying him almost as much as Goff's making right now. But let's be real. Goff's making a significant discount to what he will make. We all assume that he'll ask for 40, 45, dare I say 50 million. And that's barring he doesn't ask for a discount, but just projected. So for Quinnen Williams at $25, $26 million annually, JB, is it worth it? Is it worth it?
It definitely has to be worth it. You have to pursue it, at least in my opinion. It's obvious that he came out and said he does want a new contract before any voluntary workouts start to happen or training camp gets here. So if the Jets don't scramble and try and make this work, which, in all honesty, they got a lot to work with, especially with the Aaron Rodgers contract and everything, I don't know. This could be a player that's just out there on a free market. And I wouldn't be surprised if Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell took a shot on him.
And I would be surprised if the Jets didn't give him a deal. I mean, they got Aaron Rodgers, and, you're kind of making the Packers pay some of that contract with Aaron, but still, they got a lot of guys they're going to have to pay, especially on the defensive side. I mean, guys that they're drafting that are coming up. Quinnen Williams has to be priority number one for them to try and extend. You still got some years left on Garrett Wilson. You got years left on Sauce, obviously, Breece Hall. All these guys have years left. Quinnen Williams is due in about a year. And I think the last thing the Jets want to do is lose Quinnen Williams. I think that should be number one. But you never know. If contract negotiations aren't going well, this is Brad Holmes' time to cook, and you call up the Jets, and you just at least see if they'd be willing to even entertain offers. But I think the Jets wouldn't trade him, Sam, until Quinnen says, all right, trade me. I'm out of here. And now I'm rooting for the Jets to fail this year so he gets out of there. But go on, Sam.
And you certainly make the call. It's definitely a little bit concerning seeing as how what Quinnen Williams will probably get
Right.
with his next contract. That probably means that you can't pay some of your other rookies. Like, you'll have to choose between guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Kirby Joseph, guys like that. One of them is going to definitely have to go by the wayside, maybe two. But if Quinnen Williams, if last season is kind of what he is and he gives you a few more seasons of that, then it's worth it. Quinnen Williams, his numbers last season were staggering. They would make prime Aaron Donald proud. 12 sacks and a whopping 28 quarterback hits.
Wow.
That's insane. Do you think that helped out Sauce Gardner in the secondary too?
I would say so.
From the interior defensive line position, which means you're right up the middle, right at the quarterback. Quinnen Williams was a game breaker. He was dominant, but that was his first sort of godlike season ever. He was always a very, very good defensive lineman, one of the better defensive linemen, but last season he really, really showed out. If he's that and the Lions get him for that, I'd pay him 30. But at the same time, we're not exactly sure if he's always going to be that in upcoming years. He's still going to be very, very good. I think he's some guy that his floor is still one of the better defensive linemen in the NFL. But if he doesn't hit that again for multiple seasons, what he did last year, I don't know if it'll be worth that kind of money. I love Quinnen Williams as a player so much, though, and he would instantly just exponentially improve this defense.
It's like both things can be true.
Yes.
Quinnen Williams on this defense would, oh my goodness, not even just on this defense, but what Quinnen Williams provides on any defense to get consistent pressure from that defensive tackle position is unmeasurable. Especially when you have Aiden, you have James Houston, you got guys, Romeo Okwara, Julian. It's just a bunch of, you have a ton of defensive line depth, not really at defensive tackle, but if you get Quinnen Williams, that would dramatically improve your defense and secondary. But the other thing that could be true is it also makes things complicated down the line when you want to pay Jonah, you want to pay Amon-Ra, you want to pay Penei. Let's say Jared Goff wants to sign an extension. Like, that makes those things complicated. But that's what Brad's going to have to figure out and balance, because Quinnen Williams is a great football player.
But going back to kind of what Brad has said at previous seasons, just pulling this quote out, he said, we don't just spend big on getting a high-price guy. And I just don't know if it's within Brad and what he's doing right now and what he's building right now, if this fits. And he also says it has to be the right fit. It doesn't matter what the outside world thinks. We've heard him say this multiple times. It has to be the right fit for the Lions at this point. And do you think it's the right fit for the Lions at this point?
I think it checks, if we go off position, I would say yes. Now, I don't know Quinnen Williams personally. I think that'd have to be an interview with Dan and Brad. But if he fits in the locker room, well, there you go. And production-wise, they look for guys that love football. I mean, if I had to guess, I think Quinnen Williams with his production, that man loves football. So he checks a lot of boxes. But to your point, Gabby, I mean, Brad's going to have to – is he worth close to $30 million? That's a big question, a very expensive question that Brad's going to have to answer.